Welcome to InfoStream, your daily current. Unsure what to listen to? Turn to us for today's headlines. Stay informed. UK recognizes Palestinian state. White House H-1B visa fee causes legal issues. BBC exposes Russian disinformation campaign. NATO strengthens Eastern defense posture. US and China finalize TikTok agreement. British couple returns following Taliban detention. Dutch protests turn violent. Thaksin Shinawatra's health worsens in prison. Charlie Kirk dies, triggering security concerns. Cyberattack impacts European airports. New Hampshire shooting results in casualties. Violence against transgender people persists in Pakistan. Agnes Wanjiru's murder case remains unresolved. Newsom's office faces criticism over social media. Duchess of York's Epstein connection re-emerges. UK recognizes Palestinian state amidst shifting Middle East dynamics. The United Kingdom has formally recognized a Palestinian state, a significant shift in foreign policy, driven by domestic political pressures and evolving international dynamics. This decision, spearheaded by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, followed mounting calls from within his Labour Party and reflects a growing sentiment among UK citizens regarding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The recognition comes with conditions, primarily demanding a ceasefire and a commitment to a sustainable two-state solution, although the likelihood of Israel meeting these conditions remains doubtful. The move has been met with mixed reactions. While lauded by some as a necessary step towards peace, it has also drawn criticism, particularly from within the Labour Party and from the US, with President Donald Trump expressing disagreement. The decision has been seen as a strategic attempt to shift the Middle East landscape, leveraging diplomatic influence to pressure Israel and potentially galvanize support for a resolution. Several key factors contributed to the UK's decision. Labour's internal pressure, fueled by significant public support for Palestinians and a desire to appease its diverse base, played a crucial role. The government's earlier missteps, including a controversial interview by Starmer and subsequent policy shifts regarding Gaza, further solidified the party's stance. Furthermore, the recognition aligns with a broader trend among G7 nations, including France, and reflects a growing international consensus on the need for a Palestinian state. However, the impact remains uncertain, and the decision is viewed by some as primarily a political maneuver, rather than a catalyst for genuine peace. The UK's actions now include suspending arms export licenses to Israel and sanctioning Israeli ministers, alongside a renewed focus on trade relations. Ultimately, the UK's recognition of a Palestinian state represents a complex and politically charged move within a deeply fractured global landscape, with significant implications for the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the UK's role in the region. White House H-1B visa fee sparks chaos and legal challenges in a recent executive order by President Donald Trump imposing a the $100,000 fee on new H-1B visa applications has triggered widespread disruption, legal challenges, and concerns among the skilled foreign workforce. Initially intended to address perceived abuses of the visa program and incentivize hiring American workers, the policy has created significant logistical and financial hurdles for individuals seeking to work in the United States. The fee, taking effect September 21, 2026, initially caused panic as many AB visa holders, primarily from India, found themselves scrambling to return to the US before the deadline, having already begun travel plans. Rohan Mehta, a software professional, spent over $8,000 to expedite his return after fearing he would be denied entry. The White House clarified that the fee would not apply to current visa holders or renewals, but the damage was already done, highlighting the speed with which the administration acted. Tech giants like Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Apple, which heavily rely on H-1B visas, faced pressure to reconsider international hiring strategies. While the administration argues the fee will promote domestic hiring, the financial burden raises questions about the long-term viability of these partnerships. The median annual compensation for H-1B visa holders is $120,000, yet the $100,000 fee creates an additional barrier to entry. Legal challenges are anticipated, with experts arguing the president lacks the constitutional authority to impose such a fee. The American Immigration Council, among others, has voiced strong opposition, asserting the order is literally without legal authority. The policy has created uncertainty across industries, particularly in technology and engineering, where H-1B visas are prevalent. Concerns are mounting about potential disruptions to business operations and the impact on the skilled workforce. The administration's rationale that the visas are being abused to undercut American wages has been met with skepticism, given the substantial investment made by these companies in their foreign-born employees. The situation underscores the complex interplay between immigration policy, economic competitiveness, and the rights of individuals seeking to contribute to the U.S. economy. The legal battles and potential policy adjustments are expected to continue as the U.S. grapples with the implications of this controversial executive order. BBC investigation uncovers Russian-funded disinformation network targeting Moldova's elections. A recent BBC investigation has revealed a secret Russian-funded network actively attempting to disrupt upcoming parliamentary elections in Moldova. Utilizing an undercover reporter, the BBC exposed a network promising payments to participants in exchange for spreading pro-Russian propaganda and fabricating fake news designed to undermine Moldova's pro-EU ruling party, the PAS, led by President Maia Sandu. The operation, coordinated through a Telegram group, involved at least 90 TikTok accounts, collectively amassing over 55 million views and 2.2 million likes since January, significantly impacting Moldova's population of 2.4 million. The network, bankrolled through sanctioned Russian state-owned bank Promsvyazbank, PSB, operated by recruiting individuals to create and disseminate misleading content via platforms like TikTok and Facebook. Participants received payments, initially 3,000 Moldovan lei per month, to produce posts, often utilizing AI tools like ChatGPT, despite warnings about overuse. These posts contained unsubstantiated claims, such as allegations of President Sandu using children as a living currency, and accusations of human trafficking linked to the PS. Beyond content creation, the network engaged in unofficial polling, paying participants 200 Moldovan lei per hour to conduct interviews and secretly record individuals expressing support for the pro-Russian opposition. The intention, according to network coordinator Alina Juk, was to prevent the vote from being rigged and utilize these recordings and survey results as evidence of an unfair PAS victory. The investigation linked the network to Moldovan oligarch Ilan Shor, a fugitive in Moscow and previously sanctioned by the US and UK for corrupt practices. Evrazia, a non-profit organization connected to Shor and also sanctioned by the EU, served as a key financial conduit. The BBC's findings were corroborated by the Digital Forensic Research Lab at DFR Lab, who confirmed the network's scale and impact. Evidence suggests the operation is a deliberate attempt to destabilize Moldova's democratic processes, leveraging disinformation and manipulation to influence the election outcome. The network's activities highlight a concerning trend of foreign interference in European elections and underscore the need for vigilance and countermeasures. NATO intensifies eastern flank defense following repeated Russian airspace violations. Recent events have highlighted a significant escalation in tensions between Russia and NATO, primarily driven by repeated incursions into the airspace of NATO member states. Following the detection of 19 drones entering Polish airspace last week, triggering concerns of open conflict, NATO has dramatically increased its defensive posture along its eastern flank. The United Kingdom's Royal Air Force, SARAF, deployed Typhoon jets on an immediate air defense mission over Poland, marking the first operational deployment within the Eastern Sentry initiative announced on September 10th. This mission, supported by NRAF Voyager air-to-air refueling aircraft, aimed to bolster the alliance's response to the escalating threat. Simultaneously, Estonia requested an urgent consultation with NATO after 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered its airspace without permission and remained there for a total of 12 minutes, an unprecedented event. Russia has denied violating Estonia's airspace. These incidents follow Romania's detection of a Russian drone over its territory and underscore a pattern of sporadic incursions into countries bordering Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. The RAF's deployment represents a direct response to these violations, sending a clear signal that NATO airspace will be defended. Defense Secretary John Healey emphasized the alliance's resolve, stating that the mission was a response to reckless, dangerous, and unprecedented Russian aggression. Poland shot down 3 of the drones, highlighting the seriousness of the situation and the closest the country has come to open conflict since World War II. NATO's Article 4, which allows member countries to bring any issues of concern to the North Atlantic Council, was invoked following the Polish incident. The situation is characterized by Russia's denial of any intentional targeting and the ongoing pattern of drones and missiles veering into countries bordering Ukraine. The events have prompted a significant reinforcement of NATO's eastern defenses, with multiple nations contributing to the air defense mission, demonstrating a united front against the perceived threat. US and China finalized TikTok deal, granting US control of algorithm. Following months of negotiations and multiple delays, the United States and China have reached an agreement regarding TikTok's US operations, granting the US significant control over the platform's algorithm and data. The deal, expected to be signed in the coming days, represents a key diplomatic achievement amidst ongoing trade tensions. The core of the agreement involves selling most of TikTok's US assets to a consortium of American investors, including Oracle, Andreessen Horowitz, and Silver Lake, with the remaining 20% potentially held by Chinese investors. The deal addresses a long-standing national security concern raised by the U.S. government, particularly regarding TikTok's access to the data of its 170 million American users. A pivotal element of the agreement is the use's control over the algorithm, widely considered the special sauce that drives TikTok's popularity and makes it challenging for competitors. Oracle, chaired by Larry Ellison, will lead data and privacy efforts for the app in the United States. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping facilitated the finalization of the deal following a very productive phone call on Friday. This call, a significant step towards resolving a key point of contention, paved the way for the agreement. The deal was initially prompted by a congressional ban passed in April 2024, contingent on TikTok divesting 80% of its assets to American investors. Prior to the deal, TikTok briefly went dark in the United States due to the Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. Throughout the process, Trump granted 4 extensions to delay the shutdown, allowing his administration time to broker the agreement. The deal is expected to precede a first in-person meeting between Trump and Xi at the AP summit in South Korea next month. The agreement's success reflects a willingness to address national security concerns while navigating complex geopolitical relationships. The deal marks a significant shift in the ongoing battle for dominance within the social media landscape. British couple released after Taliban detention returned to UK. A British couple, Peter Reynolds, 80, and his wife Barbie, 76, who had been detained by the Taliban in Afghanistan for nearly 8 months, successfully returned to the United Kingdom following a Qatar-brokered release. The couple, who resided in Afghanistan for almost 2 decades and operated a charitable training program, arrived at Heathrow Airport from Doha, where they were initially reunited with their daughter, Sarah Entwistle. The Taliban initially detained them on February 1st, citing violations of Afghan laws, though the specific reasons for their detention remained undisclosed by the Islamist group. Peter and Barbie Reynolds had been married in Kabul in 1970 and had spent the last 18 years administering their approved training program. Following their release, Barbie Reynolds expressed a strong desire to return to Afghanistan, stating their intention to continue their humanitarian work, emphasizing their status as Afghan citizens. Jonathan Reynolds, their son, corroborated this sentiment, highlighting the positive impact of their programs and their commitment to ongoing efforts. The couple's training program, operating since 2009, involved the training of women and children, a project that had the approval of local Taliban officials, despite a ban on women's employment and education for girls over 12 years old. Jonathan Reynolds revealed that he had been receiving encouraging reports from his parents regarding their programs, with Barbie expressing a continued determination to do more. The successful release was facilitated through Qatar's diplomatic efforts, showcasing the country's role in mediating the situation and securing the couple's return, underlining their dedication to the Afghan people and their ongoing charitable endeavors. Dutch anti-immigration protests escalate with violence and arrests. The violent anti-immigration protests gripped The Hague on Saturday, resulting in clashes with Dutch police, the deployment of tear gas and water cannons, and numerous arrests. Approximately 500 demonstrators blocked a major highway crossing the city, initiating a confrontation with law enforcement. The situation rapidly deteriorated as protesters engaged in acts of vandalism, including the setting of a police car ablaze, according to reports from the Netherlands news agency ANP. 23 individuals were taken into custody, and 2 police officers sustained injuries during the tumultuous events. The protests were fueled by demands for stricter migration policies and a tougher stance against asylum seekers. Right-wing leader Geert Wilders, a prominent figure who secured victory in the previous election and maintains a significant lead in current opinion polls ahead of the upcoming 29 October vote, was invited to address the demonstration but ultimately did not appear. Wilders, in a statement, unequivocally condemned the violence directed at police officers, labeling it utterly unacceptable and attributing it to the actions of idiots. The demonstrations were organized by a far-right activist group advocating for restrictive immigration policies. The crowd consisted of individuals waving Dutch flags alongside banners associated with far-right organizations. Prime Minister Dick Schoof strongly denounced the shocking and bizarre images of shameless violence, asserting that the behavior was completely unacceptable. The escalating unrest highlights growing tensions surrounding immigration policies in the Netherlands and underscores the divisive political landscape leading up to the crucial election date. Authorities are actively investigating the incidents and assessing the overall security situation. Thaksin Shinawatra's deteriorating health in prison. Former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra is currently experiencing neck bone deterioration while incarcerated at Klong Prim Central Prison in Bangkok. This development prompted a scheduled medical examination by a specialist doctor on Monday. According to the Department of Corrections, Thaksin initially developed cervical spondylosis last Friday and received initial treatment at the medical correctional institution adjacent to the prison. Due to the unavailability of a specialist physician on that day, his examination was postponed until Monday's appointment. Despite the condition, Thaksin's overall health remains stable, and he has been able to consume his meals within the prison environment. He is exhibiting symptoms characteristic of elderly individuals, including fatigue and body aches. The Department of Corrections reports that his condition is considered stable, and a comprehensive health assessment will be conducted on Monday to monitor his progress. This situation follows the Supreme Court's ruling on September 9th, ordering Thaksin to begin serving his 1-year imprisonment sentence, a verdict issued 2 years prior for 3 separate cases. Previously, Thaksin had attempted to delay his incarceration by citing illness and remained at Police General Hospital since his return to Thailand in August 2023 until his parole in early 2024. Upon his return, he was initially admitted to the Bangkok Remand Prison and subsequently transferred to Klong Prim Central Prison to fulfill his sentence. Supporters have gathered outside the prison to demonstrate their continued support for Thaksin. The upcoming medical examination is a crucial step in assessing his health and ensuring appropriate care during his imprisonment. The Department of Corrections is prioritizing his well-being while he serves his sentence, marking a significant point in the ongoing legal proceedings. Charlie Kirk's death sparks memorial and security concerns. A conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, a prominent figure and co-founder of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot at the age of 31 during a Turning Point USA event in Utah on September 10th, triggering a memorial service and heightened security measures. Kirk, a key ally of former President Donald Trump, was widely recognized for his youth-focused conservative movement and his outspoken views on a range of issues, including climate change, faith, and gun control. His death has reignited debates about political violence and deepened existing divisions within the United States. The memorial service, organized by Turning Point USA, is scheduled to take place on Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, and is anticipated to draw over 100,000 attendees. Security will be at a TSA level, according to Turning Point USA, reflecting concerns about potential threats following the shooting. Kirk's career began at age 18 when he established Turning Point USA, aiming to promote conservative principles among young people. He gained significant influence through his daily podcast and frequent public speaking engagements, often engaging in debates with students and academics. He was a regular visitor to the White House during Trump's presidency, attending events like Trump's inauguration in 2017 and golfing with Trump just days before his 2025 presidential inauguration. His wife, Erica Kirk, a businesswoman and former Miss Arizona, now serves as the CEO of Turning Point USA. The memorial service will feature speeches from prominent figures including former Vice President J.D. Vance, Donald Trump Jr., right-wing commentator Tucker Carlson, and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. The event underscores the complex and often contentious relationship between conservative activism and political discourse in the U.S. Investigations into the shooting are ongoing, with differing perspectives emerging regarding motives and potential suspects. The incident has intensified political tensions, with the Trump administration reportedly seeking to attribute blame to the radical left and potentially using it as justification for increased government oversight, generating accusations of overreach and concerns about civil liberties. Kirk's legacy remains a subject of debate, as does the circumstances surrounding his death, highlighting the deep-seated divisions within American society. A cyberattack disrupts European airports. A significant cyberattack has impacted several European airports, primarily Heathrow, Brussels, and Berlin, causing widespread flight delays and cancellations. The attack, targeting software provided by Collins Aerospace, specifically their Muse system used for airline check-in and baggage handling, has forced airlines to revert to manual processes. Hundreds of flights have been delayed, with some airlines, including British Airways, relying on backup systems. Heathrow, Europe's busiest airport, has been particularly affected, experiencing multi-hour delays and queues. Brussels Airport reported a large impact on its flight schedule, necessitating manual check-in and boarding. Berlin's Brandenburg Airport also faced longer waiting times due to the disruption. The National Cybersecurity Center, alongside law enforcement and the Department for Transport, is actively investigating the incident. Passengers have faced considerable hardship, with many missing connections and experiencing extended waits. Naomi Rowan, traveling to Costa Rica, was unable to board her flight due to the system failure, forcing her to seek alternative arrangements. Similarly, Johnny Lal missed his flight to Bombay for his mother-in-law's funeral due to the disruption. Airlines are working to mitigate the impact, with additional staff deployed to check-in areas and assist passengers. Heathrow advises passengers to check flight status with their airline and arrive with ample time. Eurocontrol has requested airlines cancel half their flight schedules between 0400 GMT on Saturday and 0200 on Monday, while EasyJet and Ryanair, operating from elsewhere, are operating as normal. The situation at Heathrow remains critical. A separate incident involving a security alert at Dublin's Airport 2 terminal, resulting in evacuation, has added to the overall travel challenges. The incident echoes a similar global IT crash in July, highlighting the industry's vulnerability to digital system issues. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander is closely monitoring the situation, emphasizing the potential for further complications due to the interconnected nature of airport operations. Travel journalist Simon Calder notes the severity of the situation at Heathrow, considering its status as Europe's busiest airport. New Hampshire Country Club shooting claims 1 life, multiple injuries. A shooting at the Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire, resulted in the death of 59-year-old Robert Stephen DeCesare and injuries to 2 other adults during a wedding reception on Saturday evening. Authorities identified the lone suspect as 23-year-old Hunter Nadeau, who was charged with second-degree murder. Initial investigations suggested 2 suspects, but surveillance footage confirmed a single shooter. The incident occurred amidst a wedding celebration when the suspect, described as appearing weird, began firing a gun in the club's restaurant. Witnesses reported hearing the suspect shout, "The children are safe," and "Free Palestine." Amidst the chaos, a guest, Sophie Fleberis, intervened by striking the shooter with a chair, causing him to drop his weapon. The suspect then fled into the reception area and kitchen, exhibiting a bloody wound. Several other guests sustained non-gunshot-related injuries during the panicked evacuation. Witnesses described a fight-or-flight situation, highlighting the unexpected nature of the violence. The shooting shocked the Nashua community, with Mayor Jim Duchess calling it a tragedy. State Senator Jeanne Shaheen and Representative Maggie Goodlander expressed their condolences and vowed to bring justice to those responsible. Senator Maggie Hassan praised the work of law enforcement and first responders. The incident prompted immediate investigations by the New Hampshire State Police. The shooting's occurrence at an unlikely location, a country club, was described as the lottery you don't want to win in America by wedding DJ Michael Homewood. The investigation is ongoing, with authorities gathering facts and information to determine a motive. The community is grappling with the sudden and devastating loss of life, and local officials are working to provide support to the victims and their families. The shooting has raised concerns about gun violence and its potential to erupt in unexpected places. The New Hampshire State Police are assisting with the investigation, and Senator Shaheen and Representative Goodlander are monitoring the situation closely. Violence against transgender individuals continues in Pakistan. Recent reports detail a tragic and disturbing escalation of violence against transgender individuals in Pakistan, with the discovery of 3 bodies in Karachi. Authorities have confirmed the shooting deaths of 3 transgender women on a roadside in the Memon Goth area of the city, occurring shortly after midnight on Sunday. Unidentified assailants were responsible for the deaths, and the investigation is currently underway with authorities struggling to establish a clear motive. The victims, identified as transgender women, were found riddled with bullets, highlighting the perilous situation faced by this marginalized community within Pakistan. Police officials, including Javed Ahmed, are actively involved in the investigation, but progress is hampered by the lack of immediate information regarding the perpetrators or their intentions. This incident joins a growing trend of violence directed at transgender people in Pakistan. Amnesty International has expressed serious concern regarding this escalating pattern, noting a significant increase in attacks and abuses against the Hydra community, the term commonly used to refer to transgender individuals in the country. Estimates suggest that approximately 500,000 transgender citizens reside in Pakistan, yet they continue to experience profound social exclusion and discrimination. This vulnerability contributes to their heightened risk of violence and abuse. The authorities are prioritizing the identification of the deceased and subsequent investigation, but the underlying issues of social prejudice and potential criminal motives remain central to the case. The situation underscores the urgent need for enhanced protection and legal safeguards for Pakistan's transgender population, alongside a broader societal shift towards acceptance and equality. Agnes Wanjiru's murder pursuit of justice after a decade. After nearly a decade of unanswered questions surrounding the 2012 murder of 21-year-old Agnes Wanjiru, a Kenyan High Court issued an arrest warrant for a British national suspected of involvement. This marks the first time a serving or former British soldier is being pursued for the killing of a civilian, a development welcomed by Wanjiru's friends and family. The case stems from Wanjiru's disappearance on March 31, 2012, while socializing with friends at Lions Court Hotel in Nanyuki, Kenya. Wanjiru, a young mother struggling financially, frequently engaged in transactional relationships with British soldiers stationed at a nearby base, often exchanging money for drinks. Witnesses reported a tense exchange between Wanjiru and a soldier, followed by her disappearance. A big fight and broken window were reported at the hotel that weekend. Her body was discovered in a septic tank near the hotel 3 months later, having been stabbed. Investigations revealed a pattern of misconduct within the British Army, with soldiers engaging in transactional sex with vulnerable women. An internal investigation in 2025 uncovered continued instances of this behavior, despite explicit bans. The Sunday Times reported that the soldier involved was subsequently dismissed from the army, but continued to live freely in the UK. The case gained renewed attention following Open Democracy's reporting on the army's failure to discipline soldiers for such conduct, and a subsequent government meeting between Defense Secretary John Healey and Wanjiru's family. The arrest warrant issued on September 16, 2024, signifies a significant step toward justice, though extradition proceedings remain a legal hurdle. Legal expert Kelvin Kubai emphasized the ongoing need for cooperation between Kenyan and British institutions. Wanjiru's niece Esther Njoki has established a GoFundMe page to support her family and raise awareness about the case. The BBC confirmed the UK government's continued commitment to assisting the family in securing justice, acknowledging the long delay in pursuing accountability. The pursuit of justice for Agnes Wanjiru and her daughter continues, fueled by the determination of her friends and family. Newsom's press office under scrutiny over social media posts targeting Kristi Noem. California Governor Gavin Newsom's press office is facing a potential investigation following a social media post directed at Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The post, stating Kristi Noem is going to have a bad day today, "You're welcome, America," sparked concern and prompted a response from federal agencies. The acting U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Escalate, requested a full threat assessment from the Secret Service, emphasizing a zero-tolerance policy for threats against government officials. Following the initial post, Newsom's office clarified that the statement was referencing immigration-related legislation and a ban on federal law enforcement wearing masks. However, Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin criticized the post, deeming it a threat, and accusing Newsom's team of employing a keyboard warrior approach. Amidst a heightened threat environment, fueled by recent events, including the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the situation has intensified. Republican members of Congress, such as Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, have blamed Democratic rhetoric for the assassination, while former DHS advisor Charles Marino asserted that the current threat level is unprecedented. He stressed the importance of maturity and civility in political discourse to mitigate risks. Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza has dramatically escalated, with Israel intensifying its strikes, resulting in the deaths of over 70 Palestinians, primarily in Gaza City. Numerous residential buildings have been destroyed, leaving more than 50,000 Palestinians homeless. The IDF claims the targeted buildings were used by Hamas. This escalation adds another layer of complexity to the already tense political climate, further highlighting the need for responsible communication and security measures. The Kumi incident, where he deleted a post referencing numbers associated with violence, serves as a cautionary example of how seemingly innocuous statements can be interpreted and perceived as threats, underscoring the sensitivity surrounding public discourse and potential security implications. Duchess of York's previously revealed Epstein relationship sparks renewed controversy. The recent resurfacing of a 2011 email from the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, to Jeffrey Epstein reveals a previously known and now intensely scrutinized relationship. The email, obtained and published by The Sun and the Mail on Sunday, describes Ferguson as Epstein's supreme friend, despite her later public condemnation of his actions and a subsequent declaration that she would never have any contact with him. At the time, she stated she had made a gigantic error of judgment and that his actions were wrong and for which he was rightly jailed. Ferguson's email was sent shortly after she publicly distanced herself from Epstein, and it was intended to counter a threat he made to sue her for defamation. In the email, she insisted she had not used the word pedophilia in reference to him, despite reports to the contrary. She acknowledged his feelings of disappointment and emphasized his steadfast, generous, and supreme friend status. A spokesperson for the Duchess emphasized her regret regarding her association with Epstein and her immediate response upon learning of the allegations against him. She stated that her first thoughts were with his victims. The email was sent as advice to assuage Epstein's threats. The revelation comes amidst a wider investigation into Epstein's network and activities, including the settlement reached regarding allegations of abuse involving Prince Andrew, Ferguson's husband. This settlement, along with Epstein's connections to other prominent figures, such as Lord Mandelson, has fueled further scrutiny. Epstein, a well-connected financier convicted of sex offenses, was found dead by suicide in 2019 while awaiting trial for sex trafficking. He was accused of trafficking numerous young women and girls. The recent release of documents by a U.S. congressional panel has intensified the investigation into his activities and connections. The situation underscores the ongoing impact of Epstein's network and the continued efforts to uncover the full extent of his crimes and those involved.